Good morning from Belgrade, Serbia. It is 8 o'clock here in downtown Belgrade. I am coming to you from an area in the center of the city known as Republic Square. This is the main area in downtown Belgrade. Let's talk about some news. And the big story that we have to talk about, since I'm in Serbia, is what is going on in Kosovo. And last night, yesterday, we had all kinds of tension taking place in the territory of Kosovo. This breakaway republic that NATO snatched up when it attacked Serbia in the late 90s, and they turned Kosovo into this. Basically, it's a very large NATO military base, and they're now recognizing the collective West. Not all of the collective West. Many countries in the collective West have moved to recognize this small breakaway territory as an independent country. Many countries do not recognize Kosovo's independence, including Russia, China, countries in the collective West. And in the European Union did not recognize Kosovo. For example, Cyprus, Greece, Spain, I believe Slovakia as well. And this is an area where tensions have always remained high between the citizens of this, the people living in this area. Most notably, the tensions focused on the ethnic Serbs in an attempt to try and get the ethnic Serbs living in Kosovo, I believe in the north areas of Kosovo, Metohija, and trying to get them to abandon their home, to leave this area. And these tensions have been kind of bottled up for the past few years. Does this remind you of something similar of what's going on in Taiwan between China? These tensions have been bottled up for many years, but yesterday things kind of hit a boiling point when a program that Kosovo is looking to implement, the so-called government of Kosovo is looking to implement a program where they force the ethnic Serbs to change out their license plates from Serbian license plates to Kosovo license plates, and then eventually move to get the Serbs to change out other forms of identification, for example, ID cards and things like this, in an attempt to make it difficult for the ethnic Serbs to remain in the region, as well as to make it difficult for the Serbs to continue to travel back and forth and have communication between Serbia and the territory of Kosovo. And yesterday, and I hope I'm explaining things correctly. If I'm not explaining things correctly, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to be here for a few days, so I'll definitely get a better handle on the situation, and I'll also be able to talk to people in Belgrade, local people. I hope I can talk to local people in Belgrade to get a better understanding of what is definitely a much more nuanced situation. But the president of Serbia, Aleksandar Vucic, he made a statement last month claiming that this registration policy, this license registration policy, was part of an effort to force the remaining Serbs out of Kosovo. And yesterday, he came out with a statement as he saw the tensions rising in the area. Barricades were being put up in the Serb areas of Kosovo. Supposedly, the Albanian population in Kosovo, they were moving various forces into the area. I have heard reports of some sort of gunfire that took place and some injuries, though I cannot confirm this. I believe the Serbian defense minister refuted a claim that the Serbian military was moving into the area. I believe that was refuted by the Serbian defense minister. Anyway, the tensions were really heating up. in this territory. And Serbian President Alexander Vucic, he came out with a statement last night, and he said, quote, "The atmosphere has been heated up, and the Serbs will not suffer any more atrocities. My plea to everyone is to try to keep the peace at almost any cost. I am asking the Albanians to come to their senses, the Serbs not to fall for provocations, but I am also asking the representatives of powerful and large countries which have recognized the so-called independence of Kosovo to pay a little attention to international law and reality on the ground and not to allow their words to cause conflict." Now, Richard Grinnell, who was in the Trump administration, he hit out at the Biden administration for what Grinnell, and this is how I'm reading into it, from what Grinnell categorizes as, and I'm using his words, and God, I hope I don't make a mistake here, but he is categorizing the current authorities in Kosovo as experienced far left, radical, and experienced fascists. Now, Grinnell, while he was in the Trump administration, he worked to keep the peace in Kosovo. That was actually one of his main policy planks. One of his main projects was to continue to keep the peace in this area. And he did not appreciate the Biden White House stirring up tensions in Kosovo. Do you see? God, do you see what's going on? They're stirring up tensions. They stirred up tensions in Ukraine. They got the war they wanted. Now they're stirring up tensions in China. They're stirring up tensions in Kosovo for Serbia. This is not coincidence. This is not coincidence at all. So Richard Grinnell, who negotiated a Kosovo-Serbia deal under the Trump administration after a turn in charge of the U.S. intelligence community on Sunday, blamed the reckless Prime Minister of Pristina for the renewed tensions with Belgrade and slammed the State Department for enabling him. Quote, "What happened in the Balkans isn't Russia. Whoever says this to you is trying to manipulate you," Grinnell tweeted on Sunday. "This is about Albin Kurti trying once again to give it to Serbia. He is living in the past." Kurti being the alleged prime minister of Kosovo. Quote, "The people of Kosovo want peace and jobs, Albin. Stop picking fights." That is what Grinnell tweeted yesterday. Serbian military was placed on high alert, and local Serbs put up roadblocks earlier in the day after Kosovo police showed up at two administrative crossings with Serbia, intending to enforce Kurti's decision to confiscate Serbian license plates and documents. This would have effectively cut off the remaining Serbs living in the north of the breakaway province with their relatives. That's an excellent paragraph. I think that adds a lot of context to my explanation. My explanation may not have been so good, but that paragraph explains everything really nicely. Anyway, according to Grinnell, this was all about Kurti making unilateral moves to reject Serbian IDs and license plates inside Kosovo, which he called unnecessary. That is a quote from Grinnell. And Grinnell also described the Prime Minister of Kosovo as a far-left radical and experienced fascist. That is coming from Grinnell, Trump's guy in I believe he was the ambassador to Germany, and I also believe he was in the National Security Department as well. Actually, I think he may have even been, for a time, National Security Advisor. Let me know if I'm wrong there. But Russia has also warned Kosovo against conflict. The Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, said on Sunday that the government in Pristina and its backers in Brussels and Washington should stop their provocations and respect the rights of ethnic Serbs in Kosovo. That is coming from Zakharova. Pristina's decision is unreasonable and discriminatory, and their forced replacement of personal documents is another step towards the expulsion of the Serb population from Kosovo, as well as the Kosovo Serb institutions that ensure the protection of the rights of Serbian residents from the arbitrary whims of radicals in Pristina. Kurti is deliberately escalating in order to launch an armed crackdown, not just against the Serbs in Kosovo, but against Belgrade, which the West wants to neutralize using the ethnic Albanians as proxies, added Zakharova. Do you see a pattern? Does this all sound familiar, using the ethnic Albanians as proxies to egg on, to instigate, to provoke Serbia? Russia calls on Pristina and the US and the EU behind it to stop provocations and respect the rights of Serbs in Kosovo, the foreign ministry spokeswoman added. So excellent statements from Grinnell and from Zakharova. And once again, I think their statements add a lot more context and a better explanation than I could ever make, that I could ever give with regards to what's happening in Kosovo at the moment. And this should come as no surprise, to be honest, because 6 days ago, I believe Kurti and the foreign minister of, the alleged foreign minister of Kosovo were actually in Washington, meeting with Blinken, of course. Here's a tweet from, what is the date on this tweet? I believe this is from the 26th of July. Met today with President Osmani and Prime Minister Kurti of Kosovo. The United States supports Kosovo's Euro-Atlantic and international integration, and the EU facilitated Kosovo-Serbia dialogue. We appreciate Kosovo's hospitality to Afghans and its firm support for Ukraine. So that was just 6 days ago. It wasn't the foreign minister, it was the President Osmani and the Prime Minister Kurti of this breakaway territory of Kosovo. Now, the foreign minister, just 6 days ago, she made a statement claiming that Kosovo is set on EU membership. Kosovo will apply for EU membership by the end of this year, Foreign Minister Donika Gervala said on Tuesday. The EU has taken on 4 new countries as candidates in recent weeks. Quote, "We think that Kosovo meets all the prerequisites to be granted official candidate status, and therefore by the end of the year, we will choose the appropriate moment when we will also formally submit the application," Gervala said during a press conference. The minister added that Kosovo has already implemented most of the EU's framework for stabilization and free trade in the Balkans, and that she expects a separate application to join the Council of Europe to be processed swiftly as the territory, and I quote, "meets all the prerequisites in terms of legislation, human rights, democratic standards, and rule for all." Well, it definitely does not meet the standards for human rights. Not that human rights matter to the European Union anymore, because the EU has kind of become a will-take-anybody club at this moment in time. And it's not this exclusive club that it once was touted to be, say, 20, 30 years ago. But now the EU has become, we'll just take anybody. Anyone that wants to join the EU, come on in. Door is open. But it definitely does not meet the requirements of human rights, that's for sure. Kosovo will not even meet the requirements of being a recognized country if this application actually makes its way to a vote in the EU, because EU member states, they all have to approve this application. And you have countries, as I said earlier in the video, like Cyprus, Greece, Romania, Slovakia, and Spain, which do not recognize this province of Serbia as an independent country. They do not recognize this province of Serbia as an independent country. Greece and Cyprus, it's understandable why. Spain, it's understandable why. Romania, I'm curious why Romania does not recognize Kosovo, given the pressure it must be getting from the United States to do such a thing. But Kosovo getting into the European Union would require all of the member states to sign off on it, and I just don't see that happening anytime soon, though I do know that the Mitsotakis government in Greece has been under tremendous pressure to recognize Kosovo as as an independent country, and to give it the green light to enter this Euro-Atlantic framework. So that is what is going on in Kosovo at the moment. From what I understand, the latest reports are now saying that Kosovo has delayed on this confiscation of ethnic Serbian documentation, license plates, and other documentation. So they've delayed on it. They haven't canceled it, but they've just delayed on this plan. It looks like Vucic is warning. At the time being, as I'm making this video, it looks like Vucic's warning has been heeded by the so-called Kosovo leadership, and they have delayed implementing this plan, which was supposed to take place today on Monday. So anyway, I'm going to be here. I'm going to get, I hopefully will get a lot of information and a lot of education as to what is going on in Kosovo, and it's actually Kosovo and Metohija. This is what the area is known as, from what I understand. So I'm going to get a lot more information as to what is taking place here. Let's now do two quick stories. One is going to be an update on what's going on in Donetsk with these butterfly landmines, and then I'm going to do a quick clown world, and I'll wrap up this morning video. And we have reports coming out of Donbass, from Donetsk, that the Ukraine military, they have been firing off hundreds of small green butterfly-shaped RFM-1 mines. And these mines are known as petals in Russia because they're shaped, I guess they're shaped like butterflies and flower petals, and they're really small. And there's hundreds of them now that have been fired off into Donetsk. And when people step on these mines, terrible things happen. And from what I understand, a couple of civilians actually stepped on these mines and had like their foot like blown off, and just horrible things. And I believe these butterfly petals, these butterfly petal mines, are a war crime. You can't fire off these landmines, these small little mines, into civilian areas, obviously. But people in Donetsk, what they're doing now is they're placing like cardboard around these mines when they find them, and they're also putting up like caution signs and trying to identify where these mines are. But it's really hard because when they mix in with, like, say, lawn, like grass or lawn areas and parks, it's almost impossible to spot these mines. So that is what the Ukraine military is doing. That is how they are terrorizing the people of Donetsk, the civilians of Donetsk. And yes, these mines are banned under the 1997 Ottawa Convention, to which Ukraine is a party. So they are banned. This is a war crime from the Ukraine military. But this is also a signal that the Ukraine military, they're not looking to win this war. They're looking to terrorize the people of Donbass before the Russian military and the Donbass militia finally liberate the entire area, right before they win the war in Donbass. And this is a signal that the Ukraine military is losing. It's losing. When you have to resort to these types of things, shooting off landmines in heavily populated civilian areas, it's a sign that you're losing, because you're not engaging the opponent, the enemy, anymore. You're terrorizing local civilian populations. So that is the update there with these landmines in Donetsk. And let's do a quick clown world. And this clown world, of course, is courtesy of Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova. And it has to do with Boris Johnson possibly becoming NATO Secretary General, a story that I covered a couple of days ago. And TASS news agency, the Russian news agency, they have sources in Brussels Beautiful statue, huh? They have sources in Brussels which claim that Boris Johnson will never be the Secretary General because Boris Johnson doesn't tick off the identity boxes that need to be ticked off to become the next Secretary General of NATO. More specifically, according to the sources from TASS, Boris Johnson is not a woman. Whatever the definition of a woman may be, Boris Johnson is not a woman, and he doesn't tick off any other identity boxes that NATO wants to tick off for the next chief of the alliance. And so Maria Zakharova had a very nice troll, a very nice statement in reference to this TASS report. She said, "Nothing prevents Boris Johnson from suddenly discovering an inner woman, trendy, bold, his style," Zakharova said. According to the spokeswoman, the number of genders recognized in NATO member states makes it possible to Johnson to pick one that fits him most. Even if NATO will choose from people calling themselves women, they can always suddenly discover an inner man or some other gender, Zakharova said. Even if NATO will choose from people calling themselves women, Zakharova is taking a dig at the whole controversy in the collective West as to the definition of a woman. The collective West doesn't know what a woman is anymore. So Maria Zakharova is taking a very clever dig there. And then, of course, she's saying that, if Boris Johnson really wants the job as NATO Secretary General, well, what he can do is he can, just announce that he's a woman. He definitely has made the most clown worlds that I've presented, that's for sure. And I would say that if there was a box to tick for a Secretary General, say clown, if clown was one of those requirements that NATO was looking for as far as identities for the next Secretary General, well, Boris Johnson would he would be the front runner, that's for sure. So that was a great troll from Zakharova. I'm going to end the video there, and I'll be doing more videos. Hopefully within the day, I'll try to get some more up. We'll see. But I'm coming to you from Belgrade, Serbia, Republic Square. Take care.